All right, geometry, this is part 2 of your composite area lesson. So to start off, we're going to start talking about shaded regions. Now, I know on your paper there's a problem number 5. That's actually going to be extra. So if you want to pause and try to figure that out or work that out and then see if your answer matches the 410.68, awesome. There are 3 figures there. Okay, but we're going to go ahead and start working on the shaded region. So to find the area of the shaded regions, you're going to find the area of the entire figure, so the whole thing, and then you're going to subtract the area of the non-shaded regions. So I'm going to try to switch up and have 2 different colors, and that way you can see the difference between the 2, because ultimately what we need to do, and we can go ahead and start talking about number 6, is we're going to take a look and we find the area of the entire figure, which they only give us 1 dimension on this. So for this figure, it's a square. So we have this side and this side. This side is also 25 feet. And so we're going to find the area of the square first, and then we're going to subtract the area of the circle on the inside. Okay, and looking at this, the area is 25 squared, and 25 squared is going to give you 625 feet squared. So that's going to be the area of the square. And we're going to subtract that to the area of the circle, and remember your formulas for circle is area equals pi r squared. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So we have area equals pi r squared. And then we're going to go ahead and delete some of this so that you can see what's going on. Now, they didn't tell us any information for the circle, but I do know that the length from one side to the other is 25. The length of the middle of the square has to be 25 as well. So the distance from one side of the circle through the center all the way to the other, that's a chord. The entire distance is 25, but if I were to take half of that, that would just be 12 feet. Okay, and that would be our radius. So the radius on this problem is 12. So the area equals pi, which is going to be approximately 3.14 for this problem, okay, times 12 squared. And the overall area for this one is 490.87. So we're going to take 625, and don't forget feet squared, okay, and subtract the area of the inside region, that circle, and it's going to end up being, the difference between the two is going to be 134.313 feet squared. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 7. So with number 7, I noticed 2 shapes. One, I have this large rectangle, that's the whole shape. So let's go ahead and find the area first of the rectangle, and then we can talk about that triangle and subtract the area from, because we're really ultimately trying to find this shaded area. So we're going to take the whole shape, which is the area of a rectangle, which is just going to end up being 14 times 25. And 14 times 25 is going to give us 350. It's a little close. Let's try that again. 350 centimeters squared. Let's go ahead and take a look at this triangle. So we're going to subtract the area of this triangle from the area of the rectangle, and that's going to give us just the shaded region. But in order to take the area of the triangle, we first need the area formula, 1/2 base times height. Sorry about that, I noticed I was going off my area here of the video. Okay, so we need a base and we need a height. Now I notice that this is perpendicular to this side over here on the triangle. Okay, so I know that this is going to end up being my height. But the opposite side of a rectangle, these two sides are going to be congruent to each other. So this is going to end up being 25 centimeters. Okay. Now, so my base in this case is going to end up being 25. Area of the triangle equals 1/2 times 25 times the height, which is 11. So the area of that triangle is 137.5 centimeters squared. So our next step to find the shaded region, we're going to take 350, subtract 137.5 centimeters squared, and that's just going to give us the shaded region, which is going to be 212.5 centimeters squared. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at number 8. Okay, now looking at number 8, the shapes that I notice right off the bat is the whole shape is going to be a semicircle, which we've practiced a little bit before. So with that shape, I know that I'm going to end up using the circle formula and dividing it by 2, because I don't want that other side. Kind of looks like an egg. So the area equals pi r squared divided by 2, and that's going to give us our area for that semicircle, and I just need a radius. So notice how I don't really have a radius here. So we need to kind of think about how we're going to find that. But what I do have is, if you notice that this other shape, use a different color here, this other shape is a triangle. And it's a special triangle because we're going to end up having a right triangle here. So if I have a right triangle and I have 2 side lengths, I can find the third side, which is going to be our hypotenuse, by using Pythagorean theorem. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A and b represent the leg lengths, so that would be 9 plus 21.6 squared equals c squared. So I'm going to calculate that real quick. So 9 squared is 81. And then the 21.6 squared is 466.56. Add those together, gives us 547.56, and then I'm going to take the square root of that, which is going to end up being 23.4. Because I had to take the square root of both sides in order for the c squared to be isolated. So this length is 23.4 for this distance, but we have to remember that it's the entire distance, the diameter. When I'm finding the area of a circle, I only need the radius, which I'm going to take that 23.4 and divide by 2, and that's going to give me a radius of 11.7. So I'm going to go back up here to my blue color, dark blue, and substitute that back into the formula. So area equals pi times 11.7 squared, all divided by 2. And that's going to all calculate down to 215.03, or 3 thousandths. Okay, now the next one is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to change the color here. We need to find the area of that triangle. So start off with the area formula. Area equals 1/2 base times height. Area equals 1/2, and that base is going to end up being perpendicular to the height. So you need to look for that perpendicular angle, and that's going to help you find the base and the height, which you can turn to the side. So the base on this one is either 9 or 21.6. Commutative property of multiplication states that either of those will work for, you can switch it around. So if you have 21.6 times 9, that's the same thing. And the area for that is 107.83 meters, Finding the area of the triangle is just going to end up being, multiplying that all out is 97.2 meters squared. We're going to go ahead and find the total area by adding or subtracting those two things together, two areas together. So we're going to take 215.03 minus 97.2, and that's going to give us a total area of that shaded region of 117.83 meters squared. All right. One last problem. Okay. See if I can move this down here. Okay, here we go. We can go ahead and start with finding the area of this shape. Now, I noticed right off the bat that the large shape is a trapezoid. So if you need to look up your trapezoid formula, okay, we need to find the area of 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. Okay, and if you need to reference that, it's right here. Whoops. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and figure out what the height is. Okay, so I notice I've got an issue here. I don't know what the height is, and that's my perpendicular angle. So we're going to have to kind of think about this one a little bit as far as how to find a perpendicular part. I notice that I can also bring down a perpendicular line here. And I have a right triangle. If this is the hypotenuse, which is 25, this length is not 37. We can subtract that 17 from 37, and we would end up with just this length down here, which would end up just being 20. Okay, so once we have that, we can go ahead and find this height using Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to do that in another color so that it's off to the side. So we're going to end up with the hypotenuse, which is 25, and we know that the 20 squared is a leg length. And I'm looking for this height, or x. Okay, equals 25 squared. I'm going to go ahead and, you guys know how to find that. You can pause and figure it out, but it's x equals 15 for that length here, height. And then we're going to go ahead and once we know that height, we can substitute back into our formula the different components of this trapezoid. So the area equals 1/2 times the height, which is 15, times the two bases, the sum of the two bases. Okay. So adding these together, multiply by 15 times 1/2 is going to end up giving you 405 inches squared, and that's the area of the trapezoid itself. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and subtract the area of the semicircle. Okay, so semicircles are really the area formula of a circle divided by 2. So we need a radius. We don't have a radius, but now that we have that height, we know that this entire distance is 15. So half of that distance from here to here has to be 7.5. Okay. So now that radius is 7.5, we can substitute that in. We would end up with area equals pi, or 3.14 times 7.5 squared, all divided by 2. Our area, after we simplify all of that, is going to end up being of that semicircle, 88.36. And in order to find the area of just the shaded region, I'm going to change my color one more time. Well, let's go for purple. I mean, not purple, brown. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a look, and we're going to take the shaded region, which is 405, and subtract 88.36. And that would give us a total area of 316.64 inches squared. And that's going to give us the area of just the shaded region. Lots going on this one. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know. I can help you out with this. You do need to make sure you do the reflection questions. That's how I know ultimately if you understand or master this concept. There is Khan Academy assignment that you would be able to practice, but it is optional. It's extra practice. Okay, thank you, and I hope you guys are doing well. If you need to talk during Zoom, the next Zoom schedule is on Thursday, so go ahead and check Google Classroom for that. Goodbye, guys.